Hey guys, and welcome. My name is NG Paradox, and we're here with Crusader Kings 2, the Seven Kingdoms mod. Now, you guys might remember this mod from last year. I did look at this mod last year, and of course, we did do a series using it as well. But the developers have kindly given me a little bit of a sneak peek of the newest version of the mod. They've been working very hard, apparently, adding lots of little things here and there, changing things, and just getting it, I guess, to where they want it to be. Now, obviously, you might be thinking, oh, well, I've not heard of this mod. You know, we've got the Game of Thrones mod. Why would I want to use this mod? Well, this mod is similar, of course, because it's a Game of Thrones lore, you know, Game of Thrones situation, but it's slightly different in the fact that there's a lot smaller SOs. So if we go into the game, currently they only have one scenario still, the Andal invasion, so that's their only scenario for now. But in this one, we have a much bigger Westeros. So if we go closer in, of course, like I said, this is just for people who are new to the mod. People who've used this mod before, you know this already. If you go closer in, there are far more provinces around these areas than there are in the Game of Thrones mod. And Essos is smaller. So as you can see here, look at that. Much smaller. So you've only got kind of the west coast. The Western Valyrian territory. So that definitely looks like it's changed there from where it was before, like how it looks. But yes. So that is obviously something quite different from the other mod. If you're a fan of only really the Seven Kingdoms, then obviously this mod might be more interesting for you because you can get a lot more detail, a lot more counties surrounding here. Then again, obviously, if you do like Essos, then maybe this mod is not for you. If you want to play in Yeti or, you know, in the Slaver's Bay or something, then obviously you can't do that. So that is something to keep in mind. But really the main thing, I think, and this is one big thing for me, is stability. This mod here is much easier to use if you're trying to play multiplayer. The Game of Thrones mod, a lot of people know, is quite unstable sometimes when it comes to the multiplayer, especially when you're using dragons, etc. So this mod here tries to really make sure that the game is stable enough for you to play in multiplayer. So, from what I remember last time, there weren't really dragons, but the leader of Valyria did get like a combat bonus to kind of, I guess, be an example of a dragon. I think he still gets that. I don't know if there are dragons in. From what I could tell, I couldn't see anything when I had my little test run, but I think they still haven't put them in because, again, it allows them then to keep things stable. So it's definitely a fun one for if you're playing multiplayer. But we're going to jump right in and look at the main changes that have happened. You can already see there are lots of maybe little changes that you might be able to notice. We're going to take a little bit of a quicker look by playing as the River and Hills. We'll start off as them. Now, if we go into here, of course, there are obviously some rules. All the rules. The Seven Kingdoms. So these are some extra rules here that are maybe specific for the Seven Kingdoms. You're going to find some extra rules here. We've got the Dynamic Resource System. The Dynamic Resource System is a unique mechanic used in the Seven Kingdoms. Enabled by default, it randomly assigns resources to every single province, although a handful of provinces are manually awarded specific resources. Disabling the system is not recommended, but can be disabled to avoid an initial multiplayer desync. If a desync is experienced, an alternative to disabling the system is to simply hosting. And I can't actually read what that says because it's behind the other one, hosting with. So if we go disabled, could be due to other similar mods or due to desync. Yeah. So they're saying basically try to keep this on, but there may be some situations like maybe a multiplayer, or if you're using similar mods maybe that also maybe change some of the same things as this, they could also cause a crash, I'm guessing. The uprising system. The uprising system causes revolts to spawn in the stepstones and the lands beyond the wall when they are ruled by a foreign culture. So the pirates' areas of stepstones and of course the wildland lands of beyond the wall. But you can disable that if you want. So if you're not fond of that, you can disable that. The missionary system allows for the spread of religion through missionary events that differ from regular Chancellor events. So there seem to be... Now, I didn't get to see any myself when I did my quick little test run. It was only a quick one, so I didn't really have much time to be able to see things. But it did look as though, from what this says, that there are going to be some events that can maybe change people's religions or places religion on its own with certain events, rather than just doing it through the Chancellor. So that sounds quite nice. That could be, I'm hoping that could be dynamic. Like I said, I'm not exactly sure how it works. By default, it is restricted to Westeros only, but the other options can be modified to include Valyria or to include all of Essos and the Iron Isles. So this sounds like then that there are like certain set events maybe for Westeros that can happen that will then change religion and stuff, but not in Valyria, Essos, or the Iron Isles. But if we click this, we go plus Valyria, plus Essos and Iron Isles, or just disable it completely. Now, personally, for me, obviously, Westeros does sound lore-friendly, because that's where a lot of it happened. We didn't really get to see the Iron Isles. They were never really taken over by the Faith of the Seven or anything, while with the Old Gods, they were kind of replaced in most places, except for, of course, the North. But personally, for me, I mean, it could have happened, you know? It's definitely something. I mean, Iron Isles definitely could have been converted if they'd been invaded or something. It's just probably the Faith of the Seven people and Andals didn't want the Iron Isles. Possibly. So I'm going to try Essos and Iron Isles. And the Night's Watch system, which I'm not completely sure what this does, because it doesn't actually tell me what it does. But I'm assuming it's just to do with the Night's Watch, which has been updated, so he no longer has a crown. That was one little thing that just really bugged me, which is like that one little thing. There we go. Let's start the game. Let's go have a look at the kind of the historical changes and the lore changes. There's a lot of things in the last version of the mod that I know personally for me annoyed me just because they weren't maybe lore friendly. But they have changed a lot of things. Now, obviously, before they did want to keep things balanced, but they're trying to keep things balanced and lore friendly. We got the Andal invasion. In the Riverlands, the horns sound as 9 kings lead their host to war. In the north, the noble House Stark continues to expand their borders and influence. In the west, the dominance of the Rock is now challenged by the emergence of new kingdoms in the Golden Hills. To the south, the Marshals and High King of the Reach continue their policy of internal squabbling whilst being raided by Andals and Dornish alike. In the Vale, young Bronzeman raises his banner against the young fool of a falcon. One thing is for certain, however, the final battle between the now 2 people of Westeros draws ever nearer. It will be an age of bloodshed. So there we go. At the moment, there are a few conflicts happening at the beginning of the scenario, mainly here in the Riverlands. So this is, I guess, a good way to look at this is through religion. So if you look right here, if we click on the religion tab, we start off with a lot of places being converted to the Faith of the Seven. So already quite early on in this scenario, a lot of places are Faith of the Seven, but a lot of places are Old Gods. I guess in the south, it's kind of 50-50. Maybe slightly more Faith of the Seven, possibly, but not a massive difference. And then, of course, you've got the whole north, which is all Old Gods. So this should allow you to have a good kind of combat between these two faiths, allowing for some dynamics to happen, of course. But this means that, as you can see in the Riverlands, there is definitely some separation between faith. And the beginning of the scenario starts out with a big war, the Second War of the Red Fork. So, we have King Armistad Vance of Wayfarer's Rest. He has kind of a lot of people underneath him, some Caesarians underneath him, you can see here. So his name is quite big, but technically he's one kingdom. But he has, of course, he's got the Brackens underneath him, he's got the Pipers, and he has the Jesswise family underneath him. So together they're kind of all fighting against the Old Gods' faith. So you've got the Faith of the Seven, and that also includes the Blue Fork here, the Viperin family. So you've got Faith of the Seven people versus the Old Gods of the Riverlands. So it's a nice scenario to start. If you're going to start with this mod, I would say start in the Riverlands and choose a side. Faith of the Seven or the Old Gods. This is being led by the Blackwood family. As you can see here, they're trying to take their lands. A bit of a pointer right now, as you can see here. The religious icons are not actually there. There's the Old Gods and stuff now. I was pretty sure in the previous version of the mod that the icons were there. And I've spoken to the developers, and they've said that they are making new religious icons, and they haven't been put into the game just yet. So probably by the time this version of the mod is updated and released, those probably would have been put in from what I've been told. But right now, we're still playing with some hot code, and they seem to be updating it daily, from what I can tell at the moment. But not actually for you guys to download. They're updating kind of the, shall we say, the test copy at the moment. So that could be upgraded at any point before they release it. And they haven't told me when it's going to be released, guys. It will be coming soon, apparently. That's all that I know. But yeah, so that's something to keep in mind. There won't be any religious icons. But yes. You also have on the sides, you've got the Mud family, who we're playing as. I mean, who does want to play as the Mud family? The Kingdom of the Rivers and Hills. Christopher, the Hammer of Justice. I mean, who doesn't want to have this hammer? And of course, they've added lots of little things in here. Lots of different weapons and stuff. You know, Valerian steel swords, etc. You've also got Dari fighting on the side of the old gods. And we've got the Mutin family in the Bay of Claws. So that's kind of nice over here. I got a nice big civil war. Well, civil war, I guess, a nice big war with the different kings in the Riverlands. You've also got the kind of war going on the Mountain and Vale. We have High King Osric Aaron fighting off against a rebel, it would seem. The Royces have rebelled against him with their small area of land. He has about 10,000 men versus their 15. So he is in a weak position. He's not likely to win this, but it could be a good challenge if you want to try and get rid of the Aarons at the very beginning of the game. So that could be a fun place to start as well. But that, from what I can tell, seems to be the only conflicts at the moment in Westeros. So at the beginning, those are the only conflicts. Obviously, more will appear as fighting goes along. And let's have a quick look at some of the lore stuff, some lore things that have changed. The wildlings seem to be very similar to last time. I couldn't really notice anything that was a big deal up here when it came to the families and stuff. The Night's Watch has been updated. No longer do they have a crown. Like I said before, that always would frustrate me in the previous version of the mod. He would always have a crown. And I didn't like that, of course, because the Lord Commander should not have a crown unless he, turns himself into a kingdom. The first council ship of the Night's Watch. So hopefully that will be done properly from now. Though it does say feudalism, which does kind of concern me. It could be that's just hot code. In the north, things have slightly changed. You've no longer got any Karstarks. The Karstarks are gone, because obviously at this point in time, there would be no Karstarks. So the Boltons are kind of the overlords of that area at this point in time. The Grey Starks are currently in the game. I remember seeing them in the game last time, and that was obviously nice. It's nice to have the Grey Starks in White Harbor. But in the last version of the game, they were independent from what I can remember. And that seemed historically inaccurate. But now they've become a vassal of Winterfell. So there you go. So hopefully, to me that sounds better. To me that sounds right lore-wise and history-wise. So you can still play as the Grey Starks, which is kind of nice. I know a lot of people will be happy with that. But they now are a vassal of the Stark family. Other than that, in the north, I think that's really all that's really changed in a big way. The Starks do have their own kind of government, the Kingdom of Winter. There are actually a few unique government types that are mostly specific to the traditional kingdoms that would go on to become the big kingdoms in the end. The reason you have these basically is they add some extra abilities, as you can see here. He gets minus intrigue, he gets plus diplomacy, minus fertility, I guess, because of the north, and increased vassal opinion. Kingdom of Winter. Usually ruled by the noble House Stark, the king's faithfulness to his vassals can only be compared to their vassals' faithfulness to the king. The King of Winter is known throughout the north as the most just and fair king. Although there may be some time of persecution or tyranny, the vast majority of the kingdom's time is spent under the watchful and just eyes of the direwolf. For everyone in the north knows that winter is coming. And there's a few more of these. If we have a quick look, I guess we could have a quick look just at the government types. So you can see up here, most of the places are Westerosi feudalism. There's obviously wildling tribalism, but we've got the Kingdom of Winter. We've got some tribal over here with the Flints. And we have the Knights of the Vale. So the Vale will have his own little government. +1 for martial, +1 diplomacy, and extra vassal opinion. If we go further down, we also have Lord Freeholder Viserys, the Venturing Sea Snake of the Valyria, the Valyrian family. They're a principality. They get plus diplomacy, plus to stewardship, more fertility, and vassal opinion. We also have this one, a bureaucratic council. The first speaker, Ralph of the Blackwater. Interesting little name there, first speaker. Kind of like that. It's a little bit extra there. Martial is decreased, but diplomacy and stewardship is increased. And vassal opinion is quite a lot, +20. That's really good. You also have a principality here in Wendwater, the Water Prince, John Wendwater. A lot of bonuses there. I think that's the same bonuses as the principality over there. We've got the Storm Kingdom of the Durrandon family as well. Also, it's coloured slightly differently. I think they all are. But that's kind of a nice... I like the colour of that one. Just vassal opinion for this one. Interesting. He doesn't really get anything else. He just gets vassal opinion. Everyone else seems to be Westerosi feudalism down here. We've got a theocratic kingdom. National tax modifier, learning. Fertility is decreased, but vassal opinion and dynastic opinion have been increased a little bit. We also have down here, with the Redwine family, a merchant kingdom. Obviously, they like to make a lot of money, plus fertility, stewardship, national tax modifier, but dynasty opinion is down. Then we have the Reach. The Reach gets, of course, the Reach. Known for its fertility, I guess, so they got +10 fertility and +3 stewardship. The rich and fertile lands of the Reach, it makes sense. You've also got the Royal March up here. So I guess that's for all, yep, all the kingdoms really underneath them get the Royal March. So martial, stewardship, learning goes down, interestingly enough, and a lot of vassal opinion. So very nice. Anything in the Rock? Nothing in the Rock for them. The Iron Isles, I bet, has one. They do. Fertility increased? Huh. Now, that one to me seems a bit off. I'm not sure. Devs, if you're watching, tell me in the comment section, is that correct? The Iron Isles meant to get plus fertility? That seems a bit off to me. I don't normally think of the Iron Isles and think of fertility. I mean, I'd probably put that as -10 fertility, to be honest. They didn't seem to have that many people. But that's just my opinion. Just my opinion. +5 opinion, no. Vassal opinion. I'd probably put that at 10. But that's just my personal opinions, you know. This is my personal silly opinions. So we've got a few different governments there. When it comes to the Vale, it's quite united underneath the Arryns, but you got the Royces trying to rebel. They are Faith of the Seven, because this is after they've been subjugated. So, you know, if you go back through his dynasty, they've been subjugated for quite a bit of time now, since they were previously kings and old gods. Then again, though, he could be secretly, you know, be an old god Faith. Not completely sure. You've still got the Mountain Clansmen up here, though, the Stone Crone family. You've got, of course, the Sunderlands up here with their little, you know, system and religion. Yeah, the Lady of the Waters. So you've still got your kind of different religions about. Like the Lady of the Waters. There's also the Vulture down south. You've still got all that. If we go over here, actually, we could look at the governments. Are there any other governments over here? We've got the Freehold. We got the Merchant Republics. And we got the Westerosi feudalism. So those are kind of the same from what I can tell. Religion-wise, Faith of the Seven, mostly up here. I'm guessing these are Moonsingers, or... yeah, Moonsingers. Okay, Bravos is Moonsingers. Maiden of the Harvest. We've got Maiden of the Harvest, Roller, Trios, the Weeping Lady, Valyrian. Yeah, so it seems to be a lot of the lore things have been updated. A lot of places in particular have been added with different families. You know, all the smaller places, maybe you'd expect to see certain families have been updated. For example, you know, Smallwoods. Just basically a lot of updating across the board for different families you'd expect to see throughout Westeros. It's really nice to see. A lot of work has obviously gone into this to make sure they have all the families that we know and try to put them in a position we expect to see them in. Though, of course, there's a lot more land than there is in the Game of Thrones mod. So I'm assuming that some of these families have been created. I'm trying to find one actually just now that maybe I don't recognize. Pyle? I don't think I recognize Pyle. So there may be some families that have been created. Manberg, don't remember any Manberg family. So there could be a few things like that have been changed. But that makes sense due to the fact that they have a lot more provinces in this one. His wife is blind. That's a shame. That is a shame indeed. But like I say, overall, mostly just a lot of updates to the lore, their history, making things kind of more lore-friendly from when they were previously. Down in Dawn, things have changed quite a bit as well. Reach, I don't think things have really changed over here. Same with the Rock. Of course, in the Rock, we still have little Parry, the lobster merchant, Docks. Yeah, little Docks family. Again, I thank them for putting that in. That's just, I love seeing that. That's such a nice thing to see, at least for me. We've got the Red Mountains, of course. There's no longer any Vulture Kingdoms. There are less kingdoms down here. You've got the Torrentine, Hellholt, and the Red Mountains. You've got 3 kind of main kingdoms around here. I think there used to be Blackmont, maybe, having a kingdom over here. I think they possibly did before. And maybe the Wilds did possibly. It was a long time since I played the previous version of the mod. But I'm very happy with the new update. I love all the extra lore they've added in. All the updates to the history and stuff. That, to me, is really exciting. So I think me and my patrons, we normally play together on Sundays, those who can. Gonna be a good chance we're gonna be playing this, actually. So yeah. But I think that's gonna end me and this update video. Just wanted to let you guys know that there will be basically an update coming very soon. You'll be able to get this, guys, for yourselves. And hopefully play some single player or multiplayer like me. And play with the new update. I'm interested to see how those new mechanics work, like the new missionary mechanics. I'm interested to see what events they put in, because it sounds like they put in a few different events, possibly. But yes, I've not had enough time really to sit down and play it and see all the new things they've added in. But those are the things I've been able to tell from this point on. Of course, there are the Valerian Steel Swords and stuff, which you can find. I will see you guys next time. NG out.